think if it wasn't for my daughter Francesca, I don't think we'd ever see her. It wouldn't be unusual for us to just randomly book a Virgin flight without even telling anybody and just turning up at my house or my brother's house to see Francesca, really. She would never stay with me or my brother. She'd insist on booking like a swanky hotel in the city centre because she said it would be too much trouble for us, but we wouldn't mind her staying at ours. And then while she was here for say 2 or 3 days, we'd usually see her at meal times. She'd say, oh, let's meet at such and such a restaurant, or we'd meet at her hotel and just get a takeaway. But we didn't really know what she was doing for the rest of the time on a trip. We just presumed she was seeing friends or whatever. She never really told us. Actually, the last time she came, she did buy Francesca an iPad so that she could FaceTime and keep in contact with her, but that was about 3 weeks ago and she hasn't actually ever tried to FaceTime her, so I don't really know why she's done that. I think the main reason why she would insist on taking us out, or she'd spoil Francesca so much by taking her to the theatre or whatever, I think she just does it out of guilt because she's literally never around. We'll go for weeks or months without seeing her, speaking to her, and the only way we can ever know what she's doing is through a blog.
We can go weeks and months without really hearing or seeing from her. Sophie regularly checks her blog though. Contact with her has really always been quite limited, to be honest.
I first met Julia less than 6 years ago when her marriage was at breaking point after she was referred to me by her boss. She's quite timid and shy and quite insecure, and she didn't really show any signs of opening up to me, especially after the affair was exposed. It was about 4 to 5 months before I truly saw another character come through her. She's quite an extrovert.
Well, I only met her at the end of her marriage, so I never really saw the other side to her. Like, the others always say that she was really reserved and kind of tied down when she was married, but I've only ever known her as this high-flying businesswoman who's always travelling the world. But since I've known her, she's been very much about living her life. Like, she seems very aware that she's not going to be able to like do this forever. So she seems to make the most of life and what it's got to offer. And I was inspired by that. She seemed to have a good head on her, and like she managed to live this incredible life, but now I realise that it was unrealistic and she could never have afforded to do that forever.
Well, getting divorced was probably the best thing she's done, to be honest, and but over the past few years we felt like she's distanced herself from her family and friends.
Yeah, we got married like 3 years ago and she offered to pay for the whole thing. Obviously we didn't accept, but she still ended up paying for like 20 grand of the 30 grand wedding, which is quite a lot, but she wasn't really bothered about it. Like, she had so much disposable income. Well, that's the way it seemed anyway, because she'd always fly back to see Francesca. Like, she'd be at like a product launch abroad and she'd just fly back. She had one of those Virgin credit cards, so she'd think nothing of booking a £300 flight just for a couple of days because she'd get her air miles. But the thing is, like, she never seemed too bothered about family. Like, it made it seem so much more frivolous when she offered to pay for things, because she was never really around anyway.
Julia's income was the only consistent thing throughout her divorce, so in my professional opinion I think that she uses spending as like a retail therapy. She's quite a lady of high-end class, leisure and travel.
No, I've never seen that man before.
Yeah, that's Chris. We've discussed her relationship a few times. Her relationship's kind of just another tool alongside retail therapy that she uses to comfort herself.
No.
She emailed around my office quite a bit and even offered to fly me out to Zurich or wherever she would be. I did visit her house in Zurich once and I was amazed by how extravagant it was and even her interior, but while we were out there it seemed a lot more like a weekend visit, like a lot more tourist, because we just went to restaurants, expensive wine bars and even looked around some galleries.
I didn't even know she had a house in Zurich.